TV cage. Joining us today to give us our financial information that we depend upon so highly is Robert Chapman. He is the editor of the financial newsletter called The International Forecaster, theinternationalforecaster.com. He joins us every other Monday so that we can figure out or put it all together or have him help us understand, because he had a lot of experience on Wall Street there for 30 or 40 years, and he now helps everybody else in their financial decisions. So, Bob, thank you for joining us on the Power Hour today.
Well, thank you for having me again. It's very nice to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you joining us. We got a couple of things we want to talk about, because it seems that you have been the one promoting this story on the Navy ship with swine flu. That's one thing I want to address, because I have trouble finding out. I haven't received any information from the military on that. The second thing I wanted to address is the Chinese derivatives that appear to be at stake. And then the third thing is, are we ready to lose the support of Japan? Is the dollar going to face incredible inflation in the very near future? And, of course, then the bank holidays. So we'll talk about those today. First of all, let's talk about this swine flu hoax thing with the Navy ships. What do we know is true about that?
Well, I don't think we have to include hoax in there, because the information I received...
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean the swine flu hoax, but the Navy ship issue.
Well, the Navy ship issue is that I received instant messages from two women who said that their husbands were on the ships.
Okay.
And this encompassed perhaps 6 weeks or so, maybe a couple of months. And that's where I got my information from. And since the information became public knowledge, probably about a month ago, what happened was that these wives, and there's hundreds of them, were visited by naval intelligence in the San Diego area. And they were asked whether they knew anything about this reporting that there had been a quarantine, and that the men and women aboard these three ships, which were in question, if they had dispersed any information about the service personnel receiving these shots on there, and they said no, and so then the naval intelligence says, well, if you discuss this in any way, it's classified, and you cannot discuss it. And one of them said to the naval intelligence person, well, why can't we? And they said, because we don't want the public to know. Now, I know that people purportedly have checked with naval and marine personnel in the United States, and doctors and offices and manifests and all this stuff. Let me tell you something. The government doesn't tell the truth about anything. Mm-hmm. They're covering it up. And this is what's going on. And we're taking note of the sites that are attacking the issue.
Well, you know what I think is interesting?
Because we're seeing a trail of the same misinformation and propaganda, actually, that's being put out, and we're noting who's doing it, because obviously they're working with the government, or they're stupid, one or the other.
Yes, and we know that the military has been doing proprietary trials, vaccine trials, or been doing the trials of vaccine for the proprietary pharmaceutical companies for many years. So that's nothing new. We know that goes on. So it doesn't shock me that the story comes out. It shocks me maybe that a couple of people have died and how sad that is. But I don't think just because we don't have any Navy confirmation from this doesn't mean anything. What it means is that they're obviously trying to get away with something, perhaps, that they don't want people to know about. So that wouldn't surprise me.
Incidentally, they are tailing these women and tapping their phones. And we know this. They don't know we know it, but they know now.
Interesting. So,
and they're terrorizing these people. These two women won't even tell us the ships. They're so terrorized, they won't even talk anymore. Now, eventually it's going to come out.
Okay, so the whole idea behind this is, just if you are not, have not heard, and I guess you've been recorded on other programs talking about this, is how we come to this information, and I guess you released it in your newsletter, is that these two people have reported to you that there are Navy ships in which they have tested the vaccine, and allegedly people have died as a result of it. That's what we know right now. Is that correct?
Right, and we have a whole different bevy of information than what's being given out by the Navy, and we know it's true because these are the men who are on duty. I mean, these are the men who are there. These are their wives.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the government wants to squash this because they want everybody to take these shots. And I've talked to people who are experts in the field, and they've also told me that and these are doctors, incidentally, who specialize in this area, they believe they weren't using H1N1. They were using H5. And that's only a guess, but by the results that they got, they think that that's what they were doing. They were using a stronger form of the disease, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, H5N1 has been used before, believe it or not. In fact, H1N1 has been used before in the vaccines. I went back and checked all the contents of the vaccines over the past. I mean, I think they're manipulating something right now. We don't even know. I mean, like, they're going to tell us what they're putting in it. I don't think so. But I'd like to put a shout out. If there's anybody in the military right now that knows any more information on this subject, I'd like for you to email us at thepowerhour@thepowerhour.com. Or if you would like to give us a call at 800-259-9231, that's only if you have legitimate information on this, and you can do page, line, and verse on this, 800-259-9231. All right, let's move on to the derivatives in China. What do you know about the fact that that could create a problem for the United States, or is it going to create a problem?
The problem is created by the people who have written the derivatives, in this case, J.P. Morgan Chase and Goldman Sachs. And the Chinese are saying, look, you're rigging the market, and you stuck it to us, and we're not going to play that game. And so we're not going to honor certain derivatives that you've written that we purchased. Where were those derivatives? They were in gold and silver. And that's it. The Morgan and Goldman are going to have to take the losses.
Okay.
The Chinese are not going to back down. Chinese are heavy buyers of gold. And, I can segue on this into two things. Mr. Wash, who was with the Federal Reserve, said late last week that perhaps interest rates might have to be raised a little bit sooner than the Fed would like them to. And what he was doing there is trying to balance the market. The second thing is Mr. Geithner, who is the Treasury Secretary, intonated in his speech on Friday that they're going to do everything possible to try to keep the dollar from going down when they know it can't be stopped. And ipso facto, at the same time, they think they're going to be able to continue to moderate the gold price. Well, let me tell you something. They don't have any gold left. And
who doesn't have any gold left?
To do it.
Wait a minute. Who doesn't have any gold left?
The United States government.
That's right. Now, what about China just buying all the gold from the IMF?
And they will do that. And they've already asked for it. And they didn't ask for a discount.
Okay, and what about...
They just want it. Look, they want to get rid of dollars any way they can. They just put $1 billion into a company called Oaktree that manages money here in the United States. Why? They probably think Oaktree is better than anybody else, and so they put $1 billion with them. You hear these figures that the Chinese have $2 trillion. They don't. What they have is about $1.4 trillion. And the reason why they don't have that, because they've been getting rid of dollars since the beginning of the year, any possible way they can, and usually by purchasing commodities throughout the world, whether commodities for the future or commodities that are just coming out of the ground. And that includes oil and gas, and these are natural, normal things for them to do, especially when they want to get rid of dollars. And so that's going to continue. And buying $1 billion worth of Oaktree or investing with them, that's normal. They want to get rid of the rest of those dollars because they know that there's no way that the dollar can revive permanently.
That's right. Now, how much does it take for us to figure out if Russia's buying all the gold, China's buying the gold, the United States is out of gold now? I mean, they're really not buying the gold. They just, like I think it was Bill from Tennessee said, they're just moving it from one corner to the other corner. Is that correct?
Well, yes and no. They're using derivatives is what they're doing to affect the gold and silver markets, and they only can do it at the most 3 or 4 days. And you're seeing that this morning. They jumped all over gold late last week because of the G20. They had the FOMC before that. On Thursday, they had the option expiration, and they're working with the commercials. Who are the commercials on the COMEX? They're the banks. Who are the banks? J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, etc.